welcome to One Woman, a brand new show here on Shaw TV, all about celebrating the incredible lives and stories of women. I've got an incredible woman with me today, my dear friend Erika Maki, who I've known a long time, and she's my first brave guest on the show, so welcome to the show, Erika.
Thank you so very much for having me. Excited, and congratulations on this beautiful new show.
Thank you, thank you. So let's start with Erika as a little girl, maybe. So you were born here in Canada, but didn't stay here your whole time growing up.
Yeah, that's right. I was born in Canada, but my parents always had the dream of moving back to their homeland, which was Slovenia in Yugoslavia. And I had the opportunity to start grade 1, grade 2, and grade 3 in Slovenia. It was a beautiful experience. It was tough in many ways because economics, and as well as it was a communism country, but the hospitality of the Slovenian people are just absolutely amazing, and I'm very, very thrilled that I had that opportunity to learn of another culture and grow up in another culture.
Absolutely, and you still have a lot of family and a home that's still there, so Slovenia is still very much home in a lot of ways.
Absolutely, Slovenia is home to me. I still consider it, it was my first language, so I consider that to be my roots. It is my roots. Both my parents are Slovenian. And we have all my aunts, uncles, cousins, and I have certainly dear friends. And actually, I'm celebrating my 50th birthday, and I'm taking my Canadian friends with me to Slovenia to celebrate and amalgamating the two cultures.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a beautiful, beautiful way to celebrate your 50th birthday for sure. Now, at what age did you move back to Canada, and what were some of the challenges with moving back to Canada?
Okay. I came at 9.5, 10 years old, and it was very challenging. First of all, I didn't speak any English whatsoever. I think I knew 4 words, and it was a very difficult age as I was bullied quite a bit. I was beaten up. I was ridiculed. We were poor, so we didn't have your snowsuits, and I didn't know how to skate, and so being in school was very challenging because number one, I couldn't defend myself. I was also a little bit on the petiter side, as well as financially we were struggling immigrants. So that was the biggest challenge, was the bullying, but also trying to learn English. English is not an easy language to learn.
Right. And you can think of that when you look at, people who are moving to Canada or Syrian refugees and people who are coming here, know what that challenge is like, and that you've had to endure it and go through it yourself, and how mean kids can be, that it's not always easy as a little girl, when you go to school, you can have various challenges.
Yes, and I find these days, though, the awareness with bullying is a little bit more prevalent than it was in those days. We're going back about 30 years now, so
right.
Maybe a little more.
Well, that's okay. We won't. Age is just a number, as they say, right? So let's go into as you got older. So you go through high school, and then did you know as a little girl what you wanted to be when you grew up, or did you have dreams and aspirations, and where did life take you?
Absolutely. When I was in Yugoslavia, actually at that time you pretty well start figuring out what you're going to do. They categorize people already in high school. In grade 8, actually, grade 8, you need to decide which direction you're going to go into. And I know I was only in grade 3. But already at that point, you're being asked what direction you're going in. Yeah, it's because you go to the high school that's directed to what career choice. If you're medical, you'd go to the medical schools. If you're more in hospitality, you'd go to that school. And I always knew, even though there weren't a lot of spas, and it wasn't influenced by TV because we didn't have a lot of media in Slovenia. We definitely didn't have a TV ourselves. But I knew I always wanted to be a hairdresser or in the beauty, and I imagined it as a child. I remember, I'm going to have a fancy little place with little champagne glasses. I remember that detail as clear as possible, as clear as it was yesterday. And it's really interesting, though, that here, I didn't take that road until I was about 32 years old. No, 27 years old when I finally was able to take that step into the beauty world.
Right. Wow. And what a interesting difference between school in Canada. Like everybody kind of takes the same route. Maybe you make some different choices and stuff in high school as to things that you take, but it actually made an impact on what school you decided to go to.
Absolutely. That's number one, but also number 2 is, and still to this day, it's not often that people change careers. To this day, you pick one career, you still have that one job, where having the opportunity to have won the birth lottery, really, to be born in Canada, you know, we have so many choices. I mean, I myself throughout life have not changed my mind, have followed different dreams, right? I am a certified handwriting analyst. I am an office administrator. I am a fitness instructor. I don't do that, but I am a fitness instructor. I have different certifications in all these different realms, and it's all just been following my dreams, you know?
That's wonderful.
And that's one thing we have here that we are able to you know, do.
Right. And it's, I guess, a little more typical of somebody to change their careers or feel more able to make a change in their life. Sometimes it's like, hey, I've got that secure job, I'm going to stay in it, you know, because it's that pension and the benefits or whatever. But I think there's a little more flexibility in Canada in terms of the things that call on your heart and being able to follow that path. So you didn't start off in there. You worked at various jobs here in Thunder Bay, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then at what point did you find that calling to go into aesthetics?
I worked at a gold mine up north. I flew in for 4 years, flew into a very isolated mine, and was very surrounded with you know, sort of that male strength, energy, old sort of fashion thinking. And I knew they treated me, Barrick Gold treated me very fabulously, but I knew that I wanted to nurture the souls of women. And once that position came to an end, the gold mine closed, I 100% went. I said, no, follow your dreams. And I didn't follow the money anymore. And I literally went into the beauty world, and I absolutely love it. Still to this day, 20 years later.
Right, and that's basically a 180-degree turn from a mining industry into beauty and aesthetics. I'm curious, in the mining industry, did you have a lot of challenges working in a male-dominated industry as a woman? Absolutely.
We were isolated, number one. We flew in, and this is going back some time ago, and a lot of times in the isolated communities, you don't have Wi-Fi. We did, certainly at that point, it wasn't even available, but communication back home, you know, there was 2 payphones. You could, you know, call from a payphone at night. Working 12-hour days, and a lot of times, you know, even if you sat with one gentleman coincidentally twice in a row, you know, all of a sudden the little rumors would start that there's more activity going on than there really was. So there was that, you know, and just being one of 5 women. I think there was only 5 women, so that in itself was challenging, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the mine closes. You're now going to pursue this dream that you've always kind of had. What was that process like, to kind of leave that secure, that job that you had, to a whole life that you weren't sure what was ahead of you?
Well, it's a total different world. Like I said, it was a 180 degrees off from what I was doing. But I embraced it. I loved it. You know, the money component didn't matter. I literally just started off taking waxing. I went to the Academy of Aesthetics at that time. And I took the one course and just, knew exactly that's what I wanted to do. And then continued with finishing my diploma in aesthetics, finishing my diploma in electrolysis, and working in the industry for 1 year. And I thought, no, I'm going to continue. And then I went and got my hairdressing certification. So, and then eventually opened up my own, after working in the industry. I thought, no, if I'm going to work this hard, I'm going to work for myself. So.
Right. Yeah. And somewhere along in there, when you're going to school, becoming an esthetician, getting your hair salon hairstylist certification, you also find out, I'm going to be a mom.
Yes.
Which that's something that you know, a lot of women choose as women to become a mother as well. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to kind of talk about motherhood when we come back from the break and talk more with Erika. Back to One Woman, the show where we share the lives and stories of incredible women. And today we have the amazing Erika Maki with us, and sharing her life. And I was talking about this being the first show, and usually we put the title of the person on the screen, but that's really hard to do with a woman, because as a woman we wear so many hats. You know, Erika's a sister, she's a mother, she's an entrepreneur, she's an esthetician, she's a teacher, you're so many things. And so we'd run out of room on the screen for sure. But before the break, we were talking about motherhood. So, finding out that you're going to be a mother, and was that something that you had always knew that you wanted, or?
Yes, I knew that I wanted to be a mom, and I knew I wanted to have one child. I just wanted to be able to give as much opportunity to that child as possible, and as much freedom for our family as possible. So I knew I always wanted to be a mom. Took a little bit of coercing as to the timing, but we waited a little bit in order to have her. We waited about 10 years. So,
right.
So I could just be more ready for her and more patient for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people always try to think of picking that perfect time for something in their life, but they're really, it's hard to find that perfect time. And for you, it was a busy time. You were in school, you were choosing a new career path, and then all of a sudden, we're going to have a baby. Tell me a little bit about what that was like, and juggling all those things.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're absolutely right. I had just finished aesthetic school, and I had worked at a spa in town for 1 year already as an esthetician, but at the same time I was in hairdressing school, and that's when I found out I was pregnant. I hadn't quite finished hairdressing school, and not only that, I was quite ill with my pregnancy, so that needed to put the hairdressing school on hold, and also I had to change. I couldn't do aesthetics just because I couldn't, my body would not allow me to do aesthetics. So I had to revert back to being an office administrator. And it was very challenging. And then once I had her, being that I was in school and didn't have full-time employment, maternity benefits were very minuscule. So I decided, well, if I'm going to work for myself. So I did start a business at that point in time.
Wow.
She was 6 months old, and baby on my hip, and off we are to the races.
That's crazy. So all the things that we have to do and go through to make the best decisions for ourselves, for our families, for this newborn child that's coming, and what's that like as a woman? All those things that you have to think about and process and to make those decisions. I know you have a supportive husband that was right along there with you, but what were those things that you went through as a woman to get to that point?
Even with a supportive husband and a very solid relationship, it was challenging. There's no questions about it. Because all of a sudden your hour that you when you go to work, your hour is worth that much more, because you do have to pay for childcare, right? So you have to justify going to work and trying to pay for the babysitter that you're not there to take care of the child. And then there's the guilt, do I stay at home? Do I not stay at home? And the guilt of leaving home. So it was quite, I'm no different than every other woman who has had a child. I was very blessed with a very supportive husband, a very solid relationship, but trying to juggle making sure that child is nurtured, making sure that you're there to influence that child as much as physically possible. But at the same time, we do live in a country where it's expensive to live, and trying to bring your share of the income into the family economy was challenging, right?
Yes. And let's talk about entrepreneurship and what that looked like for you, always kind of having an employer and employment, and then going into that world of entrepreneurship, and as a woman, a female entrepreneur, any of the challenges that maybe you had?
Yeah. Well, the very first challenge is obviously financial, right? It costs money to make money, and a lot of times banks don't even look at you unless you're looking for major dollars, right? And if you are looking for major amounts of dollars, it's not often you don't have the backing behind you in order to even apply for those. So that was number one challenge, was absolutely financial. We're very blessed with wonderful organizations such as Pero in Thunder Bay here that assists with, and Thunder Bay Ventures, and there's many organizations that we're very blessed, again, living in this beautiful country. We're very blessed to have such organizations that can guide you along the way, and mentors, and women helping women, and just, I remember asking Kathy Abbott, she was, at that time, she was the she was the president of the Thunder Bay Businesswomen's Association. I just just went up to her and said, would you be my mentor? And you know what? She gracefully said yes. I took Jasmine to the little, meetings we had. I put her in her high chair as I put some food in front of her as we had a meeting. So there's a lot of beautiful women like that who have helped me, along the road. But I think the biggest challenge was definitely financial and believing in yourself, believing that you can do it. Yeah, that was. But I had a lot of wonderful friends and a lot of people along the way, such as yourself, who have been amazing.
That's how we originally had met.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm an entrepreneur for sure is because of Erika saying, you should open a business, and would have never considered it. So it's been a great 20 plus years of friendship and growing our businesses together, that's for sure.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, so you had mentioned mentorship as part of it. So how important has it been to have female mentors in your life and also to be a mentor? Because I know you've been a mentor to so many women who are just starting out or just starting a business. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Already, if I go back to my, 20 years ago when I did start, my business, I definitely did look for community support. I knew how to do aesthetics. I knew how to do a wonderful manicure, do great makeup, waxing. I knew how to do that, but I certainly did not know how to manipulate sort of government forms, right? Didn't know how to, or even where to look to apply for something, right? So PARA was an awesome organization, and then I just started aligning myself with various organizations. And one thing that I do have to say that I did ask. It always had to be a win-win, right? So whenever I propose something, I call it the piggybacking system. So if someone's already doing something, how can we work together? And I think that was how I ended up going on that road and looking for mentors, and women were certainly more than supportive. I know Rebecca Johnson often met for coffee with me as well, and I've definitely had a lot of beautiful women in my life. Lori Golab, she's passed, but she was a great. Oh my God, she always said, if I'm going to win $1 million, Erika, I'm going to invest in you. I'm going to be your silent partner. And just having her say those words to me made me believe in myself. And her just being and coming and look at what I just did, and every little step.
Celebrating those steps along the way.
Yes, exactly. How do you eat an elephant one spoon at a time? And just a little hug, and you can do it. Really helps women, and that turns around as well. As you know, I did come from Yugoslavia and had those challenges, and I definitely have now also helped women. I had a Thai lady who didn't speak English do hair at my salon, and I have a student from India who does some work with me. I'm taking on potentially a Syrian refugee. So yes, I find my heart goes out to women who have a little bit more challenges in order to assist them, and I hope on some level I've mentored them, or I'm mentoring them, or helping them on some level. So I really try to give back on that level.
Absolutely have, and I think you've even downplayed that a little bit in terms of, I know you've so many women who've walked through your door that even if it was a piece of advice or a hug or a you can do it, just what that has meant for you, and that you can pay that forward to another woman, that you can see something in them that they don't necessarily see them in themselves. But you've also started some pretty incredible programs like the Business in a Bag for Women, which we're going to take a quick break, but we're going to come right back with Erika and talk more about that. Welcome back to One Woman, and if you are just tuning in, we've been talking with Erika Maki, sharing her story and her life and all the incredible things that she's done as a woman in this world and in our community here in Thunder Bay. And one of the really amazing things that she started was a program called Business in a Bag, and I know you're involved with Seroptimus International, which is a women's organization, and so let's talk about those kind of things that you've done.
Alrighty. Alrighty, so Business in a Bag is a project that helps women start businesses. I went to Cuba with my family first of all, and then I was a student at the time, and we had gone to Cuba, and I call it my Cuba perspective, because an average Cuban makes $20 a month. So went to Cuba, and yeah, it's easy to send, you know, towels and sheets, and, you know, bring toothpaste and toothbrushes and whatnot. But after a while, that becomes a little bit challenging as well, just taking things. So I thought, let's turn that around a little bit, and let's make it more about helping women and men, but helping women start something where they can help themselves a little bit better. So, you know, the same amount of energy as it took to send the shampoos and the toothpaste and toothbrushes, the same amount of energy and the same connections it took to get that, we changed it around, and what we did was we started to send things in a bag that people can start businesses in. And it's as simple as a blender, or it's as simple as a camera, it's as simple as cake decorating supplies, right? It's as simple as, when you think about it, $20, you know, in a month, well, that doesn't even take care of your basic needs. And people will say, well, it's relative. No, you know, companies don't sell to Cuba less than they sell, because because it's Cuba. So they deal with a lot more economic strife. So giving them the tools to start their business. We obviously started with aesthetics, because, you know, manicures and pedicures, because it's something that I do, and I have lots of supplies in that area. So, but it kind of grew into wedding dresses, and we've sent you know, various things such as that. Yeah, yeah. And I've also had the opportunity to go and teach in Cuba as well. So, I you know, not necessarily, if you can't get the supplies there. Well, you know, on my vacations, all pro bono, I taught spa directors in Veradero different techniques in aesthetics, and again, they don't have access to the internet, right? So, and people don't often go and teach for free. So I had 18 people in my class sessions there.
Wow, that's amazing. And what I love about these things is that they're all empowering activities. So you can bring your shampoo and all that stuff, which is nice, but you leave it and it's going to run out, and then it doesn't leave anybody better off because of it.
Exactly.
But empowering activities like business in a bag or the teaching, it's that whole idea of, you give somebody a fish, you feed them for a day. You teach someone to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. So giving somebody the tools that they can make their life better. And I think that's what most of us want, is just being able to have those skills and resources and things that we can then have a better life for ourselves. And that's what I found in my travels as well, is that, you know, women, no matter what economic background you grow up in, religion, culture, it doesn't matter. Those same things that are important to women in terms of a better life for themselves, their family, and their community around them. So.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
That's
yes.
a great program.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
So you have been a successful entrepreneur owning a spa in the city here for a number of years, and it's brought you to this year, which we're now in 2018, and opening a school.
Yes.
So what made you decide to all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to teach others to do what I do?
It's been quite the journey. I absolutely am passionate about aesthetics, but I am also aging, and your body is screaming sometimes, saying, you know what, Erika, it's hard. It's hard work, lifting water, bending over. So my eyesight, right, it's just, you know, I can see, but it's certainly getting older, and bifocals sometimes get in the way of what we do. So last year I took 2016, so it would have been October 2016. I took the month off. I did a staycation, and I literally took it off to do a lot of soul searching. Where am I going to go next? I just finished building this beautiful spa. We just finished the last final little bow and detail, and I thought, so I just hand it over to someone. And so I really took the month to decide, and I loved teaching, so I thought, I'm going to throw my hat in the into the application process and see if I can obtain certification or registration for a private career college. And it took me 1 year to the day. I started November 1st of 2016, and November 1st of 2017, I got approval from the Ministry of Advanced Education Skills Development to open a private career college here in Thunder Bay for aesthetics.
Wow, that's amazing. And also just the work and the tenacity that it takes to say, like, I'm going to open a school and a career college, and the work that it takes and the dedication to do that, so that, you know, other people can learn and train. And because there's nowhere even close by Thunder Bay to become to what there, before there used to be programs here in the city, but
That's right,
if it wasn't for you, that program now wouldn't exist here.
That's
right?
absolutely correct. Yes,
Wow.
absolutely. Yes.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So all that is opening shortly. So you're taking in the first intake of students for this year.
Yes, we are. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
We've had 20 phone calls of interest. So we're just waiting for the applications to come in, and it looks like we're definitely going to make it happen this year. Where we can take up to 10 students. We're hoping for 5 in our first class, just to give it an intimate setting for everybody. Yes.
Right, right. And if there's any women who's watching or anybody who's watching that says like that would be a perfect career for my daughter, or something that I'd like to go in as a second career or things like that, where do people find more information?
Yep, we have, if you go to a Spa for You's website, there's the Aesthetic Academy tab there. Also Facebook, we have Aesthetic Academy. You can call the spa, which is at area code 807-475-6977. And you can also drop by the spa and take a look at our facility, because we are housed in a Spa for You.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm sure you'd give people a little tour, and they could learn
Absolutely,
more about that as an education choice for sure. So before we wrap up, because we're almost at the end of the show, I'm just curious as to advice that you would give, that if there's any women who's watching that's maybe going through a struggle or not too sure what the next right step is, or what are some things that you would tell them or suggest?
Alrighty. Number 1 is believe in yourself. There's no right or wrong way of living your life. It's your life, and you have the right to walk the path that you want to walk on. Sort of walk in the direction. Every move you make, walk in the direction that you want to walk in. For instance, if you want to become a plumber, well, take at least plumbing courses, or watch courses on TV, or things on TV that are in that. Surround yourself with the right tribe. Find the people that you want to be. So those would be a few. Believe in yourself. And dream big. The only limitation is your imagination, really. And so believe in yourself. Know your goal. Know where you want to go. To know that you can do it. We live in an amazing country. Find your tribe.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you, Erika, for being on the show today, for being my first brave guest on this brand new one-woman show, and sharing your life and your story with our viewers today. I truly appreciate it. And of course, I appreciate your friendship. Erika and I have been friends for over 20 years now, so she's one of the most incredible women that I know. So thank you for being on this show. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in this week. Be sure to watch next week with more on One Woman.